Hi, so my Habitat movie is on tide pools. They are found in intertidal zones along the Rocky Coast, and they can range from a few inches to a few feet deep. We've gone to Yaquina Head, but some other places would be Cape Blanco, Oceanside. Cannon Beach is hugely popular, and then Hug Point. You can expect to see some giant green anemones, California mussel, ochre sea star, purple sea urchins, and Leiden chitons. The giant green anemone is sessile, so it doesn't move very much after it plants itself. It has a symbiotic relationships with dinoflagellates and microalgae where it gains much of its color. It can feast on sea urchins, small fish, crab, starfish, and dislodged mussels. They also use venomous cells or nematocysts found in their tentacles to sting and deflect any possible threats or attacks. These don't hurt humans, and here's a little figure at the bottom that shows it. We also have the California mussel, and they live on large rocks and boulders, which is the pictures on the right. They take up a large amount of space. They are filter feeders, and they can filter feed about 2 to 3 liters an hour, and they're often prey to the sea stars and can move by systematically breaking and remaking their byssal threads. We have the ochre sea stars, which can be purple or orange, and they exhibit radial symmetry, and they're often referred to as a keystone species, which means the ecosystem they're in is largely dependent on them, and if they were to disappear, we would see California mussels to overtake the entire tide pools, and they are predators to seagulls and sea otters. We have the purple sea urchin next, and their spines protect them from predators, and they are able to spear food with them. They have tiny hairs on the spine called cilia that can create a current to bring the food into their mouth parts. Their diet is mostly consistent with different algal types like red algae, green algae, and brown algae. And there's a cool little gif right there. Then we have the Leiden chitons. I think these are really cool. I love all their colors they come in, and they move very slowly on a broad foot, and they graze on coralline algae. They're often predated on by sea stars, sea otters, harlequin ducks, and then northern clingfish, and they respire through gills located in the groove around the edge of their mantle. They stick very, very well to rocks. Some ecological processes is in low tide, the marine organisms living in the tide pools, they have to endure hours of sun exposure, oxygen depletion, rising temperature, and threat from predators. But when high tides come in, that water is then replenished, and so is the food source, but the organisms need to be able to endure the relentless waves crashing and possible threat of foraging fish, which is why many of these organisms have really strong like suction or a foot or excrete like a cement to keep them attached to the rocks. They're and I would be remiss if I didn't mention climate change as an environmental studies major. So, with rising sea temperatures, ocean acidification, and rising sea levels, it is changing the tide pools in a very major way, and a lot of organisms are having to move farther up on shore in order to escape that.